One time reading that Bill Gates every single year takes 2 weeks where he leaves his home and just reads for 2 weeks straight. He takes a reading vacation. And this is something that has always stuck with me as something that just seems really brilliant to do, something that I've always wanted to do. Because there have been periods in my life where I've read a lot and periods of my life where I haven't read as much. And I've noticed that when I'm reading a lot, I do feel as if my mind is sharper, more focused. It's easier for me to concentrate. And I feel as if I just have a lot of ideas and I'm more fun to talk to. I'm a better conversationalist with people because I just have more things in my mind in a good way. And this opportunity just came to me where I actually got a chance to try this out. I got a job. I think I've talked about on this channel. I got a job that is starting at March 31st. And I had some time between when I knew I got the job and when my job was starting. So I just looked up, reasonable flights out of the country, and I found a flight to Mexico City. And I just went there for 2 weeks by myself, first ever solo trip. And the goal of the trip was to level up my mind, was to strengthen my mind. And I was going to do this experience, a version of this Bill Gates experience, where I read a lot. The plan was to read for 2 to 5 hours every single day, and I did actually read that much. And I was reading. So to give you guys like what I was doing during that trip, I would try to read 2 to 5 hours every single day. And a lot of days I was working through some computer science material. I was studying this systems design course and doing some lead code as well. But I would usually do that for like lead code / systems design for like an hour or two. And then I would just walk around, explore different neighborhoods of Mexico City, stop at cafes, restaurants, and just read before and after my meal. I would get food. I'd read before the food got there. I would eat, and then I would read more. Then might go to the park after. There's this really cool park that I liked in Mexico City. It had like a workout. You could had a bunch of outdoor workout equipment, so I'd go and work out there for a little bit, and then read before and after my workout. Then I would go get a protein shake somewhere, and then read before and after the shake. Maybe I'd go to a cafe in the morning. Usually I went to a cafe in the morning, and over a cup of tea, I would do my lead code and system design. But then the rest of the day, I was just like eating and moving, walking, exploring, but just reading. And it was such a pleasant way to spend a vacation. And I think, obviously this was a solo trip. My wife and I are doing this thing where our goal was to both go on a solo trip and then go back with each other. So I went to Mexico City. She went to a few different spots in Japan. And yeah, we're pretty excited to bring each other back to the places. But anyway, I just really enjoyed this. And I feel coming back from this trip, like my mind has just leveled up. Of course, I did some of the normal things that you would do in Mexico City. I made some friends with some people at the hostel. I definitely got drinks a couple nights. But the main focus was to level up. The main focus was to read. The main focus was to come away with my brain feeling stronger. And I do feel like that's what happened. So yeah, I was reading 2 to 5 hours a day. I finished 5 books. And some of those books I did start before the trip, but I guess I also read a lot of some books that I didn't actually finish. So I think it does average to about 5 books. Not that the amount of books that I read matters, but it is kind of cool to know that, wow, I just read 5 books in 2 weeks. So the books I read were A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Reread that book. Super good book. Anything by Eckhart Tolle always puts me in a state of deep presence. Like as I'm reading something, a lot of times I actually set the book down just to sit in stillness, because the way he writes really resonates with me and just really allows me to be still when I'm reading his writing. But yeah, A New Earth, super good book. Yeah, it was the second time I read that. I read this book called Cashvertising, which is how to sell anything to anyone. I think that, at least, I don't know, if you're watching this, maybe you're also an engineer, but sometimes it's hard, or it's not natural for us to think about sales. I'm like, for me, I think about how to build things. And it's not as natural for me to think about sales, but I do realize that sales is really important. And so that was a really good book, How to Sell Anything to Anyone. It's also just cool once you read that, you start to see, oh, okay, this is why certain companies do certain things to try to get me to buy their things. So that was a really good book, Cashvertising. I reread the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I think it's Almanac or Almanac. I think Almanac. I'm having trouble with that word right now. Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Really good book. That book's, I reread that one. This is one of my favorites. It's the second time I read it. I probably will reread it. Really brilliant mind. That book is all about how to achieve health, wealth, and happiness. You know, the things that we're all trying to achieve here. And I just, there's so many gems in that book. I think he's a really brilliant mind. And the way it's written, a lot of the sentences are super short. So it's somehow just very engaging. Somehow the way he writes is very engaging for me. So I really enjoyed that book. And then I read a couple fiction books. I read Dark Matter, which is a really fast sci-fi. One of my friends recommended that book to me, and my wife read that, and my sister read that. So I felt like it was about time I read that. It's a really, really fast read. And then the last one I read was Sunrise at the Reaping, which is a book in the whole Hunger Games world. That was also very good. And then I started Gentleman in Moscow. I started the book Persuasion, and I started the book, I think it's called the Mistborn or the Final Empire. It's another fantasy book. So anyway, finished 5 books, started a few others, and I just feel like a reading machine right now. It's amazing. I feel like my mind is I feel like I can just read, just pick up anything and just read and just lock in like that. Whereas before the trip, I felt as if reading took a lot of effort for me to sit down and do. And so I'm making this video because if you're going on a vacation anytime soon, I just want to share this with you because maybe it's something you might think about, even if it's not, 2 to 5 hours a day. I mean, for me, next time I go on a trip, I mean, obviously it's probably not gonna be a solo trip, but I'm gonna prioritize reading. Maybe it's 1 to 2 hours a day, or maybe even an hour a day, because I just feel like reading is so recharging, and it's recharging, and it's also like sharpening your brain. So I just feel like I don't know. I'm very very excited about the way I spent time these last 2 weeks. And I just thought I would share because maybe you're taking a vacation sometime soon and you want to, detach, take a break from things. But if you're watching this channel, you're probably into self-improvement. So you want to also improve yourself. This could be a cool way to do it. At least for me, my future vacations, I think I'm definitely going to prioritize reading, like just 1 to 2 hours a day. And maybe. I've also now I'm like thinking about what other things I could do. I'm thinking about maybe a fun vacation could be go and then just like try to build something code-wise and we just do a couple hours a day, or maybe just go on a trip and just bring an instrument and just practice a couple hours a day. I don't know, but this whole idea of like going on a trip and coming away with a strength in mind, but also feeling relaxed, happened with these 2 weeks, and I think it's because the activity of reading allows you to feel like you're sharpening your mind, but also relaxes you, and I just think it's a gem. It's a beauty that we have as humans, have the ability to learn how to read and then to do it. So anyway, I thought I would share with y'all. Again, this is kind of a vlog type video. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave me a thumbs up, and I will talk to y'all on the next one.